Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we're talking about game number 7 between the Vancouver Snoozers and the Edmonton Oilers, where the Oilers take down the Vancouver Canucks, winning the series 4-3, and I would be more excited about this one, except this game was an absolute snooze fest. Like, oh my god, what is with these teams nowadays? And this kind of been an issue, I think, recently, and one thing that I miss about, like, the old NHL, just even, like, from 10 years ago, is that it just feels like there's been a lack of, like, fight from teams nowadays. Because, you know, a while ago, it used to be about just, like you know, like, the biggest guys, you know, like, like, more, like, towards, like, I don't know, there's a lot more grinders, a lot more hits, a lot more fighting going on, you know. And when you have that, those guys have their heart on their sleeve, right? They're going out there to win the game. They're going to fight. And nowadays, when you have a team like Vancouver, where some players like Elias Pettersson just like they just don't really show up for these games, and this team, the Vancouver Canucks, like this score might say it was 2-3, but that was not the portrayal of this game. If you watched it, you would know. Canucks did not show up to win this one. They didn't show up until like the final 10 minutes of the third period, where they got a lucky turnover. And, like, they had no reason to show up tonight, and they were horrible. Shilovs carried them to what could have been was a close game by the end, but the Canucks, like, what an absolute just, like, disrespect to their fans, right? And Brock Besser, too. Like, they show up, and their top, I would say, like, between their top player for Conn Smythe, like, consideration, goes out with blood clots of all things, which, good luck to Brock Besser. He's one of those players that in NHL has always been someone I pick up, and I've always, like, rooted for him in real life, because I always thought, in his draft year is when I, like, traded for him, and I was like, yeah, that guy's gonna be great, and I've always been hoping for him to be a big goal scorer, and this year finally was his year, so I love I have always cheered for Brock Besser, so to see him out and not be able to fight for this game really does suck, and especially for what he's fighting with, right? It's not just like a broken rotator cuff or something like that. It's blood clots, so like that sucks. That's and the thing about that too is like that guy, he goes out with blood clots, right? Can't play. You don't think, like, what is wrong with this Vancouver team to go like, okay, listen boys, our man, our boy Brock, he's out. We got to win this for him. We got to go the distance for him. So if we win the Stanley Cup, his name still gets put on the trophy. He's a warrior. Let's play like him, right? Let's play like the Warriors he is. And then they go out there and play like this, in front of their fans at home in Vancouver, which of course is Vancouver of all places. One of the cities that we all know destroys their city for their team. Like, this is that, like, you know what I mean? Like, they just don't show, like, this is such a disrespect. There was no oomph. At one point, the shots were like, 26-4 or something like that, which was unreal in the second period. Like, the Oilers, right? And I will say, the Edmonton Oilers, they didn't play their best game, but they didn't need to. They went out there, and the Canucks barely pushed back against them, and their guys just played the way they should have. Draisaitl kept off the scoreboard, surprisingly. He was very good tonight. McDavid was a little bit of a invisibility tonight. I mean, he always is so good, so like when he's on the ice, you do notice him. But he was not the McDavid that we're used to, right? But with the guys getting on the board, CC, Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, like the normal names get up on the board like always. That top six is so loaded, and Vancouver just, like, Garland gets on the board, Hronek gets his name finally on the board. But that's been my biggest issue, right? Philip Hronek, right? Elias Pettersson and Tyler Myers, right? Those guys playing roughly around 20 minutes a game. A little bit less than that for some of them. Like, Pettersson's like at 18. I think Hronek was like 19.44 average. And then Myers, I think, was like 22, maybe something like that. I could be completely wrong. But relatively around 20 minutes, right? Around a period for the average of the 11 games they've played this series, right? Hronek, Pettersson, and Myers, right? And I know Myers shouldn't really be counted for this because he's not like a points guy really, but still, you got to create offense, especially in a series like this against the Oilers. And these guys, Hronek, 1 goal and 2 points. Tonight he got that 1 goal that makes the second point of the playoffs, right? He has 2 points in this entire playoffs run, right? And he's a -6. Elias Pettersson, a -1 and 6 points. He had 1 goal. And he has those 5 assists because he plays with Brock Besser. He plays with TJ Miller, right? And Myers, who plays so many minutes on defense, right? He just gets 1 assist. He has 1 assist through this whole playoffs, right? Like, that just goes to show you, like, what's wrong with this team. All these guys that they put out there for a whole period's length of time, every game so far this playoffs, their top guys aren't getting points on the board, right? And could you imagine the difference it would be if a guy like Nikita Zadorov didn't step up to the plate, right? If Nikita Zadorov wasn't the guy who could get a couple of goals that he probably shouldn't have in this playoffs, like, he had, like, what, 4 goals or something like that, 3 of them, like, the same, and there were some pretty big goals, like, big timely goals for the team. So could you imagine the difference if a guy like him doesn't show up? What if Brock Besser, right, God forbid, but he was taken out earlier in this series, right? Imagine where they'd be at now. Those goals that he scores, just blank, right? And imagine if the depth really didn't show up, right? Because the depth is always what's shaky about teams, right? What if Dakota Joshua hasn't scored his 5 goals he scored this series so far, or the playoffs, whatever, or 5, 6, 4, whatever? Like, what if that doesn't happen, right? What if he doesn't have his 8 points he has, right? Pettersson is not showing up, right? And it's just like this Vancouver squad, like, was never truly in it. And for me, it's just everything. Like, Shelovs was incredible tonight. His 1 save, which I will say, like, the Draisaitl save where he moved over and somehow was able to make the big glove save down. But at the same time, he shouldn't have been able to make that save, right? Draisaitl should have had a better shot out there, and he had the time to shoot it, so it is kind of surprising of all people that he was the one that really messed that up. And I know it was a block off of, I think, Ian Cole's stick, but still, like, that is the type of shot that should have went in the back of the net. But other than that, Shelovs was absolutely insane. Skinner was fine, but, like, he didn't need to be good. Like, it's kind of hard for goaltenders to be incredible when they're not being challenged the whole game, and especially when they're finally challenged at the end of the 3rd period is when they give up a couple of goals. It's like, what are you expecting of them, right? The Garland goal, what is he supposed to do? McLeod gives up the puck in the slot with nothing, no time to think. Garland gets it, and he's one of those type of clutch players that you need in the playoffs. Just gets it, looks up, sees where to shoot it, boom, right in the back of the net. Skinner can't save that one. The Hronek one, once again, like, it's another screen shot right off a face-off goal. Like, it's really going to be hard for him to make that save. So Skinner was fine tonight, did his job just well. Didn't really have didn't make any crazy big saves to save the game, but he was good for what they needed him for, right? And really, it's just, I can't stop rating the Canucks. Like, they were horrible. But let me move on to the Oilers, where this is great for the Oilers, right? They're moving on. They got their big players are getting so many points. McDavid is at 21 points. Draisaitl's at 23. Nugent Hopkins is showing up. Zach Hyman's got 11 freaking goals this playoffs, right? Like, their big boys are going. But I have a scare with this team because the depth of the Oilers is where things are really shaky. They have 12 players, including some scratches like Corey Perry and Henrique, who is injured, but he's an unhealthy scratch. But 12 players on this roster have 3 points or less than that. That is insane to me. And sure, some of them only played like 5 games, but still, 5 games in the playoffs to have like 1 point is kind of crazy. 3 points or less is nuts to me, that they have so many players on the back end of things. Oh, the back end is horrible, right? Like, Desharnais and like Nurse have like 3 points or something like that each, or Desharnais has like 1 or 0, something like that. A lot of players are in the negatives, and I don't know, because to me, like, the top 6 of the Oilers unmatched at this point, right? Maybe, just maybe, the Rangers could match them. But in true, like, intensity and consistency throughout 60 minutes of a game, McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Henrique when he's healthy, and, who am I missing here? Holloway. I'll even include Holloway. Not include, he is. Dylan Holloway was fantastic last night, too. Like, all those guys, like, the top 6, I think, probably is the best right now, right? Especially when it comes to McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman able to put so many points on the board, Hyman getting so many goals. Like, the top 6 is unmatched by any other team. But when it comes to depth and true playing, I'm going to make a video about the Oilers versus the Dallas Stars here in a minute, actually. But for me, like, this series is scary for me. Because the way that this team gave up all 3 of the wins to the Vancouver Canucks, who were comeback wins by Vancouver, like, the goaltending, we know, is not there. Pickard was not that outstanding in the one game he played. Skinner is definitely not that kind of goalie to really shut down the fort. The defense has not been that incredible either. And the depth is not the best either, right? So, sure, the Oilers heavily rely on that top 6. I mean, they are out there almost every other shift, like they are. And sure, but when those guys are on the ice, when they have, like, the McLeod and Corey Perry and, like, whoever line, right? The 3rd line, 4th line are out there. And then the Dallas Stars at home can see who the away team's putting up there, and then they put Johnston and Robertson and Ben on the ice. Like, that is going to be hell for the Oilers, right? With that type of two-way play by their team, and then, like, the goaltending in net is going to be a rough series for them to survive out of, right? So to me, I'm going to make a whole video about that, so I'm not going to delve into it right now. But just saying, Skinner was very unreliable. Pickard played 1 game in this series. For some reason, they didn't let him play anymore. Then the scratch is having all the 12 players of this roster having less than 3 points or less. And the games that they kept giving up to the Vancouver Canucks were comeback wins. Like, this is not a good scenario for this team, where Vancouver is already semi-struggling with offense, especially when it comes to their top guys. And goaltending of Shilov's, right, was very good, but not, like, the best that we've ever seen. And to me, it all writes itself as scary for the Oilers. But I guess I'll talk more about that in my next video. So anyways, really, the Oilers, great series for them. They show that they can go the distance and win. Hyman, like, their top guys just keep rolling the ball. Like, they are going. Like, they are not giving up. These guys never slow down. Top 6 is definitely the best. And they've shown that when it comes to offense, that this team can be just absolutely deadly. But there's a lot of elements of their game that is very scary, and I'll talk more about that in my next video. So I guess that is all I gotta say for this one. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please, I'm begging you, please subscribe. Please. And until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.